Hey Bernie, Tim Handren here, your mayor. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. Just want to give you an update on what's going on in our community. You probably have seen the news, but we had gotten to 0 active cases in Kendall County as of Monday. We had 0 active cases for a couple of days, but we also had the situation that happened at the Cibolo Creek Nursing Home. And that is early last week, they decided to take a very proactive stance and started testing all of the folks that are in that facility, both workers and residents. And they did find 2 workers that tested positive. They were asymptomatic, so they weren't exhibiting the symptoms. That doesn't mean they weren't contagious. That just means they didn't even know they had it. But kudos to Cibolo Creek Nursing Home, because they were actually doing the testing in a proactive manner. One of those folks is in Kendall County, actually in the city limits of Boerne, and one is in San Antonio. Those people are quarantined, as you've seen on the news. But I am glad to know that they were being very proactive in how they were addressing their community. So that's where we stand today. 1 active case. It still hadn't shown up as of last night in the DSHS numbers that I get every day at 5 o'clock. But I'll probably post those out once it shows that we have the 1 active case. Thank God to all of you who have been practicing all the CDC guidelines, working with social distancing. I know it's been no fun for all of us. But I think it's worked, and I look at the results across the country. We didn't have a problem like some of the other earlier countries in Europe had. So kudos to everybody for doing just being good, responsible citizens and looking out for each other. I think that we're in a great place. Let's see, heard this morning that the rural testing is going to be coming to Kendall County. The schedule is laid out. The dates are not specific yet. I do know this, that we are now on day 9 out of a 14-day schedule of all the counties in Region 8. Jeff Fink, our county EOC coordinator, sent all that information to me this morning. And so as soon as we know more about that, I'll definitely be sharing that with you all. But there will be a drive-through facility for testing set up in Kendall County. It looks like it's going to be at least 2 weeks away from now. We've picked a location. I don't know the rules yet of who's going to be asked to drive through or why. So again, as that starts to get a little bit more firm, I'll be passing all that on to you. I heard the governor speak on an interview this morning. He interviewed with Sean Hannity, and it was on several radio stations. He spent a fair amount of time speaking this morning about we've got to get reopened. We have to get the restaurants opened. We have to get theaters open, which I'm personally excited about. I'm excited about both of those. And we got to get the other businesses that were deemed non-essential. They need to be opened quickly. So he definitely is on a trajectory to get things open as soon as he can. We're going to hear from him on Monday on what that plan is. I have sent him my thoughts on paper this week. I've also been talking to Bayless Miller, who lives in our community and is on the strike force, that is giving the governor all the recommendations this Friday on terms of what they think ought to happen from a reopening standpoint. So I know it's going to be a soft opening. It's not going to be go back to the way things were prior to middle of March, but there is a action plan in place. So I've seen online that if folks are planning to do something on Saturday. Listen, it's a free country. You do what you want. I would just say that the governor has plans to reopen, and to the extent that we're going to hear about that on Monday, it's coming. So I'm looking forward to reopening Texas. Specifically, I'm looking to our community being open sooner. I will also tell you that I've been in conversations with our city attorney, and as of this morning, I think we have come to an agreement on some language that we can add to the city orders that might help us sooner. So watch for that tomorrow morning. I just need to get everything lined up and all the written documents signed. But I'll probably make an announcement tomorrow morning, live stream, late morning, about what we could be doing differently in Boerne. All right, that's the update for our community. I do have a new guest today, Kirsten Cohoon. She is the district judge for the 451st District Court, which is here in Kendall County, and wanted to hear her perspective on a couple of things today. So first, Kirsten, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Number one, the courts were actually shut down back in March, so perhaps you can talk about why that was done and how you've been operating, what you've been doing since the courts were shut down.
The courts closed right at the end of spring break. We were scheduled to have a jury trial the very following week. I know many of you actually were calling me about your summons to come in as jury members. Thank you all for Kendall County, just as a sidebar, is great with responding to their jury summons. I never lack for people responding, which is wonderful. And so you were calling me about that, and we had to cancel that. That's disappointing, but I knew that that was coming because we were watching the COVID-19, and it was concerning, because for those of you watching who have actually served on a jury or have been summoned to come to a jury selection process, you will know that this entire courtroom is filled with people sitting right next to each other, your fellow Kendall Countyans sitting one next to the other. And some of our jurors happen to be of elderly, and some of them might have underlying conditions, all of which I would not know. So I was very nervous on how that jury summons was going to look. And we did have some plans in place if we were going to go forward with that jury pool that day on how that was going to look, which is great, because I think we'll turn those plans into when we are allowed to have jurors back. Our court hasn't changed a whole lot since the COVID-19, with the exceptions of obviously our jury trials. We have not had a jury trial. And our docket days for our criminal cases, where we'll bring in many cases at one time, and we might have this entire courtroom full of lawyers and their clients and their clients' families. We're not doing those days. Everything else we have moved to doing virtual. I know that many people have looked on our Facebook page and our district court website, and you'll notice that we have a YouTube channel, and that enables us, Mayor, to comply with our open courts provision, so that anybody, if daytime television has got you down, you can watch the 451st Judicial District Court here in Kendall County via YouTube. And we're having the lawyers and their clients all come in on a Zoom conference call. So everybody will have a different password to come in to prevent any sort of sabotage of our court through our Zoom. We have not suffered that affliction once, because Mr. Santos, our court administrator, will make sure that everybody has their own private Zoom meeting room. And then we're having bench trials, hearings, sentencings, suppression hearings, all through our Zoom conference rooms. We're able to admit evidence. We're able to take testimony, ask questions, all through that Zoom conference room. So it has been working very nice, with the exception of not having our fellow Kendall Countyans in here, which I really, really miss my jurors and my juries.
Great, thanks for that, Kirsten. And I know that we're all looking forward to reopening, so perhaps you can talk about how you're looking forward to and how you think things are going to look like when we reopen the courts. Because I think people out there, I don't think everybody has to come through your court, thank God. But there are some that have to come through your court as just good stewards in the community. So perhaps you can talk about that.
Right now, the OCA, the Office of Court Administration, and the Supreme Court has ordered that we remain closed and doing everything virtually through the month of May. I don't know if that will be elongated. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go a little bit longer, but I would like for it not to go any longer, because I would like to have jury trials again. But I have been thinking about how our docket days, as we discussed earlier, and how our jury trials may look to keep our fellow citizens safe when they respond properly to the summons. I'm thinking that for a jury trial, we would utilize both courtrooms so that we can keep that social distancing until we've got this behind us. Our voir dire process, while I generally like to keep it through a half day, so then after lunch we're starting the trial, I envision that taking most of a day, so that we can take smaller groups of people at one time and we can maintain a social distance in our courtroom. I envision docket days to be more staggered instead of everybody appearing right at 9 o'clock. When we're allowed to open up, we're just going to look a little bit different. And I think we'll still be doing the exact same work, and we'll still be able to process the same amount of cases as we were doing last year, which I think many of you have heard that we were seeing over 100% clearance rate. We were disposing of more cases than we were getting in, and I foresee that we're going to be able to do that once we get back. Our courtroom is just going to look a little bit different. And I look forward to seeing, of course, everybody answering those calls and coming back into the 451st.
Thanks, Kirsten. You're an important leader in our community. Anything else you want to say?
I do look forward to seeing everybody out and about. I have been impressed and seeing a lot of people walking and being outside more, and the spring has been so lovely to do that. So it's been a real wonderful thing to see.
Okay, that's all for today, Bernie. Thanks for tuning in. Again, tune in tomorrow for, I think, an important update on the orders that we have in place for the current health declaration of emergency that we have in the city limits of Boerne. Have a good day.